This room.
Let's check out Reiss's sex
Reiss's,
room.
that's the
All right,
where you have the
hold
body
on.
spray?
We're live. Okay, keep it clean. It's we're not telling tales out of school anymore.
Good action. That was exciting last couple minutes of that half.
Okay, so this is first time we're doing this, obviously. So.
This is great. This is like fifth quarter without Steve Burton looking at his notes. Yeah.
I have a massive like reverb in my head right now.
Well, take one of your ears out. You're good. I hear you guys fine.
Why am I in such a delay, Coop?
Are you listening to yourself on the YouTube?
I have to.
You can listen to yourself on
fine,
here,
right?
Yeah, I hear you fine,
right?
Zoe.
Yeah,
you're a natural at this. That's why.
Well, no, I'm not a natural. My daughter cleared it. She's a tech wizard. She goes, "You're good to go." She goes, "Christian's a problem."
Yeah, he typically is.
See, the problem is we let the little guy in. You know, he's over there itching to get in. He's got his Colorado sweatshirt on.
You want me to leave the studio? See if that helps?
No. Hey, how about that hit on Shador the other day, huh, Mike?
Dirty.
Go ahead, Christian.
Are we gonna do a Colorado football? Are we gonna do? Here's what I'll do. I'm gonna play this video. I'm gonna play this post game sound, and I'm gonna play this post game sound of Jerod Mayo. So Coop's gonna bring it up, and then I went nuts on this because I felt like people kind of lost their mind and they were asking him to be fired and stuff like that. So I want Coop to play it. And then I just want to hear you guys' response because I didn't hear how you guys, what you guys thought about what he said. I know I heard Mike a little bit this morning, and about who's to blame, what the problem is. But Coop, go ahead and play it, and let's react to it.
Look, it's all. Look, once those guys cross the white lines, there's nothing I can do for them. There's nothing any coach can do for them once they cross the white line. It's my job to continue to prepare not only them but our coaches to go out here and play better football.
All right, so what do you think? What do you think, Zoe? You go first.
My problem is the pre-snap penalties. And I talked about this with Gerard too. We've done some taping for TV. You know, when you're engaged in a play and you get beat, you dive, you grab a guy, they're going to call holding. Like that's an effort foul, and that's going to be fair to call that. When you line up as a tight end, Christian, you played tight end. When you line up have you ever lined up in a neutral zone? That's the first time I've been calling games 12 years. I've been calling games 10 years for college prior to that. I've never heard an offensive player lined up in the neutral zone. I guess if you got to go back, Kansas City, Kadarius Toney, because this happened to Colorado too. Not Colorado, but this happened this past weekend with Alabama, where they said Ryan Williams was uncovered. He was on the line. He was not uncovered. You know, he was not covered. So they said it was an illegal touch. And that's the same thing that happened to Kadarius Toney on that lateral. They got to eliminate the pre-snap penalties. That to me is on the individual. Like you were a former professional athlete. I'm a former professional athlete. If I would jump under center, if I'm in a gun, if I'm moving my hands and I'm in illegal motion or if I'm in illegal procedure, my ass would be on the bench. That's an individual foul. I think it's easier to clean up those individual ones because you got to hold guys accountable. See, the problem is, I think when you're a receiver, and like Kendrick Bourne was obviously benched 2 weeks ago, he responded well, I thought, the week after that. But you have depth, so we have 6 receivers. We could put another guy in. So I'm sitting there calling the game, and I'm like, Bob Sosi, my play-by-play guy. And Mike was listening to the game, and I'm like, you got to sit one of these tackles down, whether it's Vadarian Lowe or Demontre Jacobs. You got to sit them down. Bob looks at the roster. He goes, "Oh,
yeah, no, I heard it.
They're the other 2 guys that are on the roster right now today that are active are guards and centers. They didn't even have a backup tackle on the roster. So you can't sit those guys down. So who's that on? You know, at some point it's got to fall into place. Gerard got hammered for this, and I'm with him on it. Problem was, like 20 years prior, Bill wouldn't say this stuff. And you've been in meetings with Bill. You know, he's never going to say it about the guys. He's like, we got to do what's better for the team. We're going to coach better. We're going to play better. I love Gerard's honesty because I do think he's honest. He's a former player. He's a former team captain for 7 years. He knows football. He's not trying to throw anybody under the bus. But at some point, they're getting their ass hammered every week, whether it's a coordinator, whether it's a head coach. At some point, it falls on the professional football player.
Well, hold on, because so I want to hear Mike's comment on this, because Mike, I felt like I heard you this morning saying that you thought it's a little bit of both, right? And I think there's two different things we're talking about. There's one, it's the way that Jerod Mayo kind of addressed it. Hey, when you cross those white lines, you're on your own, which I 100% agree with. Do you guys have a problem with the exactly how he said that? Did he say the quiet part out loud, Mike?
No. So, Christian, the first thing
real quick, Mike.
Yeah.
This is a good question, because I think, Christian, you and I look at this differently, because like I have no problem with what he said. Now, the reporters in the room and people covering the team, I think this is where it comes into play. Go ahead, Mike.
And I think this is important because you guys played, and I said that's why I said when I talked about it on the radio, Christian, I mentioned you have a player's perspective. I don't have that perspective. I've never been in an NFL huddle. I've never gone between the lines. So I defer to you on that. What I was mentioning was bigger picture. Like, I think we're both right, to be honest. Like, I think when you're out there,
bigger picture as far as like
what is the culture that is created that when you make a mistake, you know there's repercussions. So we're in training camp. You make a mistake. What happens? You run, right?
Yeah.
And you're developing, an edge, a heart, whatever it is, the culture. And maybe they have that. But when
they don't have that.
When we see 6 pre-snap penalties, it makes me question if they have that. That's basically what I was saying.
So real quick. So do you remember the saying? They used to say this all the time. I remember Al Saunders, my old coach, when I was offense coordinator with the Redskins. And he would always run around when guys would jump off sides. He was like, undisciplined coaches have undisciplined players. And I always got irritated with that, because let's say if I'm your coach and I'm Mike's coach, right? And I'm telling you guys are my tight ends. I'm like, listen, when it's on one, it's on one. I've told you 100 times, don't jump. We've gone over it. We've practiced it. I used every single technique known to man, and you big dummies, you still jump off sides.
Right.
You don't need a coach. You need a therapist. That's my point. So
exactly.
Now I'm an undisciplined coach. I'd be like, F you.
So you remember the situational practices that we would do on Fridays, and I had this with Parcells, and you eventually had this with Belichick. So we would be on our own 1 yard line, and Parcells would be, Zolak, get in the game. Let's go. So I'd be on the 1. He goes, run, toss 38. And I would run, toss 38. He would look at me. He goes, what are you, stupid? You want to toss the ball in your own end zone? He goes, you want to hand the ball off. Take off. Go run 3 laps right now. But so the point is, do you remember what the Monday lowlights were with Bill? I never had Belichick to where you come in Monday and you feel like you won the game, but then you felt like you lost it because Bill would crush you on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And Parcells was a lot like that, to where, our practices were brutal, 2 hours long. He's down there and he would get pissed off and go down the other end, start it over from stretch. But you couldn't wait to get to Sunday because the whole week was so annoying, because he made it hard on you. I hope Gerard makes it hard on these guys, because Belichick on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you didn't want to be around him in the hallway if you lost. I just don't know. I'm not in there, so I don't know what the environment's like.
Mike, what do you think?
So I think that I'll be surprised if DeMontre Jacobs is starting at right tackle this week. I think he has to do something, Christian. There needs to be an action behind the words. Maybe it's City Zoe, who came in at the end of the game.
Would that be something? You move a guard to, this is not Logan Mankins that you could play center, you could play guard, tackle. I remember when Logan had an ACL, they still moved him to tackle, and he played a game at tackle with a torn ACL. You don't have that type of player right now.
Yeah,
David Andrews is the only guy that could do that. I hope Michael Wenu is that type. I think and Mike, I heard you this morning on our morning show. I think you have one guy on the offensive line that you would say, next year we're keeping this guy. Yeah. That's Michael Wenu.
Yeah. Did you went through the entire offensive starting 11, Mike? Is that what I heard? And the only guy you didn't keep was only guy you kept was Drake May and maybe Ramondre Stevenson.
We were talking about players that you would say would start for another team, like unquestionably Drake, Ramondre, Hunter Henry, and maybe Mike Owenu. So 4.
And if Andrews is there healthy, it's Andrews. Yeah.
and Andrews if he's healthy.
That's
We're
it.
4 out of 11 right now. Would you say anyone else? I mean, any of the receivers? Maybe Pop as a slot.
We've
Yeah,
seen some good
I have.
receiver sets. No,
I have an issue. Like there's those issues, and then there was a third. The play that stood out to me the most as an identifier. I don't know if you guys caught up on this, and we tried to play it on the post-game show in WBZ, Dan Roach and I, and it was a 3rd and 9 play. I think it was the second quarter, and it was an obvious hot route that both receiver and quarterback saw. I think the receiver was Pop
Drake
Douglas.
threw it behind him. Yeah, Drake threw it behind him.
Yeah, and it was that to me is like a walk through. It's just a real subtle angle. Like, are you going high and then stopping, right? Because but then he curls it in, and then Drake throws it on a stop. I'm like, that to me is an obvious indicator that forget about pre-snap movement. You don't know pre-snap real game adjustments. Right. That's a whole different type of issue that they have that they should know by now. That's what drove me nuts. That should have been a first down.
Yeah, so that was blitz zone. I know exactly what you're talking about. That's blitz zone. So the receiver's looking at it. Do I keep going on the hot route? Like when it's hot, you bang that slant and you keep running. But if it's zone, do I settle? Do I sit? So he settled and sat. Then Drake sees it late. Then all of a sudden, you're actually a 22-year-old kid, I think, to do a lot more than probably what he should be doing.
Mike,
but I mean,
Mike, I want to ask you this because this is a big topic today too. Like the post-game locker room, I guess, demeanor of the players. Mm-hmm. You were in there, right? And you saw. Were they just like content? And are they just indifferent? Like, what was the mood inside the locker room after the game? Because I think a lot of people in the NFL, you need to show that you're sad and upset. And the word that I was hearing today was that they were not.
Yeah. So the reporters who had maybe relayed some of that stuff, Christian, went into the room right after Jerod Mayo was done with his news conference. So they saw something that I didn't see because I stayed in the news conference room for Christian Gonzalez and Drake May before going into the locker room.
Yeah.
So, and you know better than me. You've been in more locker rooms than me. They're fairly large. Even the visitors ones you can be on one side and you don't necessarily know what's going on the other side of the room. So what one person experiences being in the room could be different than someone else. What I'm trying to say, Christian, is I didn't see any of that stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll add real quick. I'll add.
Go ahead.
Too. So I talked to somebody today that's been getting sound in post game for the past 30 years plus. And he told me, he said, same thing was going on last year with Bill. Like, once you get to a certain point, like the press is clear or the team's clear, you're getting on buses. I travel with the team. Mike knows this, you know that. I don't see any jacking around on a plane. Like I've seen in years past, guys in the back loud playing card games. I don't get any of that this year. I don't see any guys jacking around on buses. They get on the buses, we roll, we get to the plane, and we get back. I think they're so young, they're inexperienced. And the way I felt calling the game, that game was over halfway through the second quarter. She already mentally checked out. Like, game's over, guys. Okay, so coach talks to us. What do we got to do? Here's my problem. If that's a receiver room again, then you got some issues here. Because there's not one offensive lineman that should be smiling after that game. It wasn't the quarterback. We saw him, Mike. We saw the tight end, Hunter Henry.
Yeah.
So they said it was an offensive player. That tells me, and there's Andrew Callahan's post on X right there, one of the later Patriots locker room. And this is the problem when you lose. And I've been on some of those teams. I've been on a 2-14 team, and I was here when Parcells first took over. We lost like 9 games straight, and then we got to Arizona, and he started throwing coolers at halftime. And he goes, "When are you guys going to get sick of losing? Because losing is contagious the same way winning is. When you're a born loser, you like losing and you accept it. I just don't think the team's talented enough right now to get past that, and that's a dangerous area they're in.
And this is the problem that I have with it, and this is the next one for you, Mike. The other one was I feel like there's this now. It's like open season on Jerod Mayo. And here come all the whispers and then the other one I heard was that he doesn't coach on the sideline. I had all this back and forth on X today, going back and forth. Was like every time they show him on TV, he's just standing there and looking like he doesn't know what he's doing. I talked to Dan Roach about it. Mike, you're there, so you call the game. His feet are not in cement, are they not? Like, he is engaging with other people on the sideline, right?
Mike, you can answer. Go ahead, Mike.
No, well, what I was going to say, and Zoe, if you have a better view of the sideline, I'd be curious what you see on that.
Not this past week I did, but go ahead.
Yeah.
It's awful, Miami.
I was going to say this, Christian, on the Gerard stuff. To me, the 4 games prior to this one, they were headed in the right direction. Like, it looked better. And I think you didn't hear as much of that stuff. But when they have a downturn like we saw, and that was concerning what we saw, I think a lot of people that aren't on board with him, with Gerard, whether it's from day one, the way he took over, it brings them out and the noise gets louder because of that. And we almost forget what happened the 4 games prior.
Here's what I like about Gerard. He's not buried in a play sheet. He doesn't have the Cheesecake Factory or the Waffle Factory.
The Sean McVay, Kyle Shanahan.
One. Yeah. Give me the home fries, give me the eggs, give me the thing.
Yeah.
He's not buried in that. Bill was never buried in that. You see him jotting down notes like Bill would. But was there a time during that second quarter when you got scorched and 3 touchdown passes by Tua, and we're in zone all day? He doesn't look at DeMarcus and say, let's go man up, come out second half, let's go full man. And I just wonder, as I watch like guys like Kyle Duggar, and I know Kyle's got the ankle, and he came in and out of that game. And I will never get on a player that is hurt playing through it. Jonathan Jones is one of the best pros, I've covered here in 12 years, where you could tell the shoulder, he went in and out of the game with the shoulder. And on the Jonnu Smith touchdown, he kind of ducked the shoulder, didn't hit him. Mapu's missing some tackles. Are they not healthy enough to play man? Are they not telling us that? Because I asked Marcus Jones that in the postgame, and he goes, "We played so much man this year that we thought, throw zone out at him and throw him off. You think you're going to fool that coach, that quarterback? That was fast break, man. That was as good as I've seen Tua play."
Yeah, same. That was MVP type stuff that he was doing. Just everything was quick. All the fakes were quick. His feet were set. I mean, if he needed to move, he was able to do it. And there was always a void.
Jonnu Smith was wide open. 9 times. 9 catches, 11 targets.
No, it can't. So the last thing is, Mike, anything on Jabril Peppers?
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. He was taken off the commissioner's exempt list today. I was in court last Friday, Christian, in Quincy.
What'd you do?
There was
they found you.
Well, it was interesting because I'm not used to that. But he had a pretrial hearing, and so I'm, like in the courtroom. I'm like, can I leave when it's over? Do you have to stay? You don't want to disrespect, the judge and all that. But so he's off the list, which means he's on the Patriots roster now. He can practice and play. Assuming the team will move forward with that. And we're in there tomorrow, Christian. Usually Tuesday's a day off, but with Thanksgiving, they're in for practice tomorrow. I assume it'll be a walkthrough, but we'll talk to Gerard at 11 and see what he's saying, if anything, about that whole situation. But he's back on the roster, and I'll be curious to see if that goes to trial. January 22nd's the date. Maybe they settle before then.
$10.5 million, huh, Mike?
Oh, so in the courtroom, and this is what I learned. You're going to laugh at me. So this is a criminal trial between Jabril and this woman in the state. And then the woman also is, I want to say, like, talking about filing a civil suit, or maybe did file a civil suit. And that's where the money comes in. And I think the attorney, not to get bogged down in it, was saying as part of the civil suit, that's where the $10.5 million demand came in, which her attorneys representing her said that's not true, and who knows what the truth is, but those are the facts that we know right now.
Okay. All right, boys. Well, the third quarter has already started. We've done plenty.
No,
we've done you have more to say? What you will keep going?
I'll keep going. I'm just, here's the thing, like with the Patriots too, like the AFC is down. We all know that. Like the whole league is down. I heard Burt Breer on our pregame show talking about there was no matchup yesterday where there was a team above 500 taking on a team that was also above 500. Like that's how bad some of the games were yesterday, and it makes it more glaring that in a year where maybe you could sort of be in this thing. Like Miami wins the game yesterday. Mike, what are they? 5-win team?
5-6.
They think they're alive and well. 5-6. They're under 500 in December, and they're alive and well. And all you have to do is be a 500 team. Like you win the Seattle game, you make a play in the Miami game. You know, Polk keeps his feet in bounds. I don't know. You make a play that
I don't like. I know, but that just always drives me crazy.
Yeah,
you could do it either
that.
way. You should be defeated. You can look at it that way. You really should only have one win, and that should be the Chicago Bears. And that's why, like, if you're optimistic, you're thinking the way you think, Zoe. If you're pessimistic, you're just like, you know, the world is ending. I've never seen more people yelling and screaming for Jerod Mayo to be fired. And I've said this since the beginning. If this was a coach with no attachment to the craft or anything like that, they would have already ran him out of town. They would have ran him out of town. But because it's Jerod Mayo and there's an emotional attachment to him and he's here and everybody loves him, he's going to get more, like, if people calling for his job, he's not going anywhere. He's not getting fired. He will absolutely have another year regardless of what everybody thinks.
You can't be ownership the way this ownership group is. And it's not that they're in love with Jerod Mayo. Like they like Jerod Mayo. That I think they feel that he's a good leader of men. Look at the last 4 or 5 drafts. Look where we're at. Look at the players that aren't into their second contracts. Like that's a problem. Like, and everybody bitched this past offseason against sign a Wendell back, sign Duggar back, sign Peppers back, who we talked about, give Ramondre, Bob, everybody. If you don't sign those players, who do you have? You would have to go elsewhere. So Bob Sosi, my play-by-play guy, you know, he was on our morning show, and like we've done this during games. Because when you get the list, you get the actives. Okay, here's our 53 actives. How many would you check and put a mark on it and say, this guy's worthy of being a starter in the NFL? They may have 30 or more guys as far as flipping this roster next year, which is tough because you want to build culture, but let's remember, you're building culture with a young quarterback. Quarterback. You could go in the next offseason, the Brandon Ayuk's of the world, the Calvin Ridley's of the world. Yeah, you can get the bag of money, but now, okay, we know who we want to go play with. This kid's pretty freaking good. He's that good. He's good. You got to get him help. He's 22. Christian, you remember when you were 22?
He was I was still in college. I was like trying to get 10-cent wings, you know, and hang out till the bars closed. 22, and you're starting in the NFL. Are you kidding me?
We weren't like Mike Reese and Zumats, where he's got his ass sewn to the carpet. You know who he is the next day when you turn the microwave on. You see your pants for I can say that stuff on the podcast. Sorry, Mike. I love you guys.
Hey,
I'll see you guys fifth quarter pregame.
Before we go, we got some comments. Did you see? I got Will in the comments section saying, should we tune into the Manning cast in the 4th to see the next Patriots coach? I don't know who's on, Will. I got to check it. And then Gritty Shaker was saying, how many years does Mayo have to prove he can be a head coach? I was thinking, you know, you mentioned Christian, he's not going anywhere. Next year is going to be a big year for him and for Elliott Wolf.
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, you can lose. You can lose, and I just think it's like, people use the Detroit comparison, but you can be competitive and just be like, one mistake here by somebody that's always consistent, and you could just have a bunch of bad luck, but you are really starting to believe in yourself, and you love the messaging, and everybody is still accountable, and nobody's down on the dumps, and cars aren't running in the parking lot the last game of the season. You know what I mean? Like, you're just the Thanksgiving this week, and most teams, if they're out of it, they are like, screw it later.
When we were 2-14 and we had a pretty decent team back in the early 90s, I already bought skis and we're planning ski trips. By this time of year.
Dude, I brought my bags. My last game when I was with Seattle one year, we played in Kansas City.
Send your family home.
I know. I took my luggage with me, and I paid the equipment guy an extra money because I didn't even do my exit physical, dude. I just left, went to the Kansas City airport, and flew back to L.A. It's like, that's it. I'll see you in the summer.
Yeah.
This is totally speculatory, but so it's Mike Vrabel who's going to be on the Manning cast in the 4th quarter. What do you think? So he's in Cleveland this year. Like, do you think he could ever come back? Like with
Hold on.
like
I have
next
some
year with
inside
Gerard.
information. I have some
what do you
Mike
got?
Reiss inside information.
Oh, I love your
Okay,
inside information.
You didn't hear
Are you
this from me.
Are you keeping it
You
inside?
We'll hear it
You
from
didn't
you.
hear this from me.
Okay.
I'm just going to say it. There's two candidates for that Jets job. Two candidates that the Jets are looking at. One is Aaron Glenn. The other is Mike Vrabel.
Wow.
One of those two guys is going to be the head coach of the New York Jets.
Christian, I love when you drop that stuff. That's great.
I'm not going to – I have an interview I'm doing tomorrow that will drop in about 3 weeks. And this person and I have been talking, and I was like, okay. So, and that's if I'm them, like they were really impressed with Aaron Glenn. They love Aaron Glenn. Already, knocking at the door with Mike Vrabel.
I played with Aaron.
Well, the thing that they love about Vrabel, and this is obvious, is that he's a quote unquote, not my words, culture builder. And that's what the Jets need more than anything. They need to whitewash that entire facility, power wash the crap out of it, get everybody out of there, get all the steak out of there and out of the locker rooms and the Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers ain't going to be the quarterback of the Jets. Not a chance in hell. Because if Mike's in there, he's grabbing all those guys. He's too snarky. He's got too much personality. He has too much of a credibility to be dealing with some slap who's not going to show up just because he wants to go hang out in a dark room. Ain't going to happen.
I got a good one for you too, but I think the offensive coordinator throws a little bit of a wrench in it. Las Vegas. If you're Mark Davis and you see when Tom Brady walks in that building, and they all greeted him with the claps, and everybody's there waiting for him. And you've got 10% ownership, and Tom has buried his axe with Bill. And they're like friends now. Tom, go get Bill. Go get Vrabel. Vrabel, assistant head coach. Bill, win it in 2 years. Get your record.
I heard you say this earlier. I think I heard you say this earlier. Not a chance.
Can't go back to Vegas.
Not a chance. You think Vrabel and Bill can coexist? You think Vrabel can coexist as like a head coach in waiting under Bill? Dude,
I would say that. I would say
no way. No way. No way.
It's so messed up that we're in modern day football and he doesn't have a gig. Pete Carroll doesn't have a gig. Bill doesn't have a gig. Like, maybe you learn something when you're out of football for a little bit. Like, I got to be different. Go to Vegas, man. You and me, Christian, we go to Vegas, man.
Let's go.
$8 million a year, $10 million a year. We'll live at the MGM. We'll bring Reiss out for like any Bryan Adams concert.
Oh yeah, any 80s hair band, any 80s love song band where you could just see Mike, slow dancing at his prom to a Richard Marx song, and he's just swaying back and forth because he's just in heaven.
See that?
He got his pick.
That's a Rick Springfield guitar pick right there for you, Christian.
God. Oh, geez. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to let you guys go. This is enough. You guys got Thanksgiving to prep for. This has been good. I appreciate you guys jumping on. This is fun.
Go Blue Hens. Go
Blue Hens. Get your numbers up. Eat some, drink some apple juice and some sugar. Mike, you're the best, homie. See you guys later.
You guys.
See you,
Christian. Thanks.